Aleksandra, introduce yourself. Who are you? Where you come from? Where do you live right now? Then we can talk about your journey from here.
Okay. So originally I'm from Poland. I partially moved to Slovenia, to a beautiful region called Goreńska, which is very much in the Alps. So I live in something between town and a village called Kropa, very, very close. I'm just in the mountains. Yeah, I still can't believe it. So sometimes I put it in a mild way, but yeah, we are just in the heart of Alps in Slovenia.
Wow, beautiful. How long have you been living in Slovenia now?
Mm, I came here with the intention of moving 4.5 years ago. And then it took me quite a while to get all my ducks in order and then to eventually find the perfect and very cheap apartment. And that happened almost exactly 2 years ago. So it's my anniversary in Kropa.
Oh, congratulations.
Thanks.
You said you wanted to get your ducks in order. Is it because you were thinking to move, but you weren't sure, or did you have like a few things to sort out in Poland before you can move?
Well, if anything, maybe more of the latter that you mentioned, but well, I still need to go to Poland for a couple of months every year because I have one of the most important elements of my life being my band in Poland. Things started to change because we're going to perform a couple of times in Slovenia in exactly a week, and that's the first time for us in Slovenia. So if that will go well, maybe my life organization will be a bit different. But no, when I said about getting ducks in order, well, at the time I had property that I needed to sell in Poland, which was an entirely different of a story. But the timeline was that I realized that I want to move to Slovenia during COVID, when also inflation was very, very high. As you remember, we really didn't know how this whole COVID thing will unfold. So whether we will be trapped in not only our country, but our region, our apartment, like forever. So I thought, okay, I know most likely I want to move to this country in which I've never been before, which seemed a bit crazy. Now the borders are closed and I have savings and inflation is getting off the charts. Therefore, I decided to put my savings towards some property in Poland, also very cheap. But then when finally, I guess just before the second wave of COVID, I managed to come to Slovenia for the first time. And I thought, okay, I do want to move to that country, but it will take quite some effort to sell the property in Poland, to also make the decision that I'm sure I want to do it, etc. But yeah, definitely it was to a degree love at the first sight with Slovenia.
And take me back to that moment when you decided you want to move. How What did you tell your family and your friends? You have your whole life there, so take me back to that moment when you had those conversations as well.
Whoa, interesting question. Shockingly, I've never thought about that particular aspect. So I was just analyzing statistics, considering different countries. I knew I want to be in Europe, but not necessarily in the European Union. That's why the countries that made it to the finale were Estonia, Scotland, and Slovenia. So there were some factors that I was taking into an account, mostly, let's say, political climate and openness, and whether the society is more towards liberal, because one of the reasons I wanted to move Poland, the country that for many reasons I do love, was the fact that our politics was changing. I mean, right now, looking at it 5 years later, now politics all over Europe, that doesn't seem great, to say the least. or all over the world. And we will see about the Slovenia actually this weekend, because maybe the right wing party will win here, which is gonna change things a bit, but still, let's say the mentality of Slovenians is definitely more towards left slash center than us Polish people. And you can really feel it in almost every conversation, which for me is a breath of fresh air. So yeah, I was reading about how ecological Slovenia is, ecological when it comes to like practicality, and I would even say the tradition. So it's not some new, let's say, walk trend. It's not, if you are a hipster, maybe you have your own garden. No, there are some things that has been passed from generation to generation. And in Poland, it's been ripped off from what I've heard from my parents, even during communism, while the communism in Slovenia, or to be precise, in Yugoslavia, was completely different. And it seems that it shaped society just in a better way from my perspective. So yeah, I was trying to check the like equality, proportion of nature versus culture, public transportation, quality of air, quality of water, etc., etc. Slovenia has a lot of water, but also the factor that I was taking into an account was very, let's say, pragmatic or even brutal. So just analyzing geopolitically that Poland is just one huge flat battlefield in the center of every possible war. And it's been like that for centuries. I mean, very often we were the aggressor, but it doesn't matter when it comes to the math that I was doing. So I was thinking, okay, maybe there is a country that doesn't have that many natural resources that some tyrants would be interested in, and a country that no one cares that much about, to a degree that no one even knows it exists. And also, it has a lot of mountains. I mean, you live in Switzerland, so you get the vibe. And actually, Slovenia was, I mean, the nickname of Slovenia was like Balkan Switzerland. So there are some similarities from what I've heard. But yeah, so I would say it's not as easy to invade as Poland is. Sorry to bring up war in the first 10 minutes of our conversation, but it did
That's
was a
absolutely
part of
fine.
my equation.
Yeah, yeah, that's absolutely fine. So when you before you moved, so you did all those researches, you checked, okay,
Mhm.
the air quality, the water, the politics side. I guess also is it a safe country and the quality of life. When you moved, how was it the first time you moved from your home country, or have you moved
Yeah.
before? It was
Mhm.
the first time.
Mhm.
Okay. So
Mhm.
how did you have this conversation back at home with your parents or with your family, with your friends, or did you just pack up your stuff? Hey, I'm leaving.
Oh, no, no. No, I really don't think that. I mean, social structure is crucial when it comes to mental well-being. So no, I wouldn't do that to them. And also, I knew that most likely for first couple of years, I will need to spend around half a year in Slovenia and half a year in Poland. Therefore, it wasn't even a question of whether I will just pack up and disappear. But so, what's curious about moving to Slovenia is that the main topic isn't actually you moving to a foreign country. The main question is where? Slovakia? And then you're like, no, 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 Slovenia. And people are like, is it somewhere close to Croatia? I'm like, yes, it's between Croatia, Italy, Hungary, and Austria. And then let's say the topic is just changed because we are moving swiftly to what Slovenia is, which I guess spared me some difficult conversations because I was also so enthusiastic about introducing the existence of Slovenia to people dear to me that I guess upon seeing my enthusiasm, people that knew me well and also knew that I was fed up with some aspects of Poland, and I was also openly claiming that I guess for a while. So while researching, I was already telling some people that you know what, I feel that I'm becoming bitter here, and I'm just complaining a lot. And I'm this gloomy Slav saying, "Oh, you know how it goes." In Slovenia, there is this wonderful saying, "Življenje ne potica." Potica is like traditional dish, traditional pastry. So like life isn't a pastry or something, or life isn't the way you would like it to be. You can just choose whatever you want to. And I was getting that thinking, oh, there are so many things bothering me in Poland, but yeah, what can you do, right? So by the age of 30, I was already very grumpy, complaining human being, and I didn't want to stay like that. So I would even, if I recall, some people, some of my friends told me, okay, it does sound a bit wild that you've never moved abroad, yet you found some weird ass country that we haven't heard of, and you're gonna move there. But you know what? You seem very happy when you are speaking about it, and you are not, I don't know, it's not that easy to spark your enthusiasm. So I guess that's, yeah.
Yeah, it's super interesting because once you make up your mind, you want to move out or I'm not happy here, then you start looking at the negatives. Like for example, you said you weren't very happy in Poland because of certain things, and you made up your mind that you want to move, and then from that moment, I guess this you start looking at things, you start comparing. Why is this like this? Why you don't agree with this and that, and you just as soon as you start when you see it, then you try then to move on and move to a country where you think or you want your I'm not sure if is the right word, morals, but your priorities are aligned with the country. Was
Yeah,
that the
yeah,
case?
very well put. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I really like the fact that you just brought the category of priorities because, for instance, it doesn't even have to be about big general stuff like politics. You can see it because, for instance, I would say Slovenians, even when it comes to small talks, or even if you look out the window, you can see that these people are all about nature, sports, physical activity, practicality. So for them, hiking and working in their garden is really like the essence of life. I swear. I mean, I swear statistically, you can just go around Slovenia and see it all over the place. While I would say, okay, I'm gonna generalize. Obviously, it's not a scientific conclusion, even though there are pretty curious books, like for instance, book Traumaland, analyzing how we Poles were shaped by our history and how come, for instance, we really love that's a phenomenon you can observe even right now. We love generalizing. We love talking about politics more than, let's say, of course, we also talk about practicality, but I would say it's really easy to just drag us into a debate about politics, and I'm absolutely not an exception. I'm just a typical Pole. And I see that being in Slovenia every day, that when I'm asking about upcoming votings, and people are like, oh, you know how it goes. Yeah, yeah, I know who I'm going to vote for. I'm like, oh, won't you going to tell me? They're like, better not to talk about politics. I just had this conversation yesterday with my 80-year-old neighbor, and he was like, no, it's not okay to talk about politics. We have other interesting stuff to talk about. Did you hike today? And I was like, whoa, that's exotic. Yeah. Not very easy to provoke. So for me, their preferences, their priorities to a degree are very similar. So I really need physical movement in nature, preferably every day. My bare minimum is 4 times a week. I know for some people it's a luxury, but judging by that, you can tell that even though Warsaw has so many parks, etc., but it's different to go on a hike in a pristine nature that I have. I was just before our interview, I just went 5 minutes uphill and I was completely alone, surrounded by bears, potentially even bears. So yeah. So prioritize really aligned here.
Yeah, yeah. That's beautiful. You know what? I didn't know much about Slovenia until today, so thanks for that.
Mhm.
And what was interesting, you said how they love activity in Slovenia and outdoor. And
Mhm.
what surprised me also in Switzerland is you see a 5-year-old skiing and snowboarding and a 4-year-old riding a bicycle. My daughter
Mhm.
is 5 years old; she doesn't know how to ride a bike yet. So I'm like still
Mhm.
trying to, but how early they teach their children to do things. Have you noticed that as well?
Yes, very much. It's actually both ends of the spectrum. So I'm often absolutely shocked by, let's say, not even five, like 2 or 3-year-old kids doing it's almost like a gymnastic because they just need to climb. For instance, there are beaches full of stones here, and very often I see parents just letting things letting kids do whatever they feel like, even when they are like, yeah, I guess the most shocking case was this 2-year-old, and he was basically already becoming a climber. And so my Polish soul was like, oh no, 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 that's dangerous, they shouldn't let him do that. So this like overprotective Slavic persona. But here it seems that sometimes I joke that they are all goats. So they are born as goats. So yeah, it's about climbing and moving in general. Even I forgot the term in English. Like, okay, climbing wall. So very close to one of the mountain huts that is just almost by my house. So I go there three times a week. So there is climbing wall. Let's say it's for kids, but it's still like, I don't know, 5 meters tall or something, or more. So at first I was shocked. I thought, are they gonna, I don't know, use ropes or something? No, they won't. They just trust their kids because they are socialized to move in such a way and they know how to do it. So then you have parents who just hike there for 1 hour. Parents drink wine, which is a Slovene specialty, and kids are just climbing that wall. And I'm trying to cover my eyes, thinking, "Oh no, no, it won't end well." It's, I guess it ended well in all the cases I've seen. But yeah, the interesting, even more interesting for me, is observing people in their, I'm not joking or exaggerating, 90s, hiking uphill, not even that slowly. Yeah. Sometimes 80 something year old person just passes me and I'm like, yeah, okay, I need to stay humble. They are just very fit. It's in their blood, it's in their national habits. I love it. And that was also one of the statistics I checked because I saw that Slovenia has the highest percentage of outdoor sports. And I was like, oh, man, I just want to interact with these people. I mean, who are they? And yeah, they are
What's the number one sport there, or the number one and two? Like hiking? No, it's
hiking, skiing,
yeah. Okay.
cycling. Yeah, hiking, skiing, cycling,
Hmm?
ski jumping. Yeah.
Yeah. So
Mm,
your favorite is the hiking part because you said you went hiking
definitely.
for 5 minutes just
Yeah,
before
yeah,
our
yeah.
interview. Yeah.
Definitely. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah. And
It's also very cheap and, accessible. So you
yeah.
don't need to have any equipment. I used to ski every winter because my parents made me, but obviously that's also a luxury when you're a kid and you don't have to pay for all the equipment, etc. You don't know how privileged you are, because now when I need to like make a decision where it's going to be enough snow, blah blah blah, and I'm thinking, okay, skiing is great, but that mountain that I'm observing just now and I only need my shoes, isn't that better? So yeah, for now
Yeah.
on, I'm still not fed up with the things surrounding me.
Yeah. I see. And you've been now 2 years in Slovenia, right?
2 years here, so 2 years since I found that apartment. So let's say 2 years since I'm based in Slovenia. Still not permanently, but yeah.
Okay.
So there was this 2 year period between me finally visiting Slovenia and me kind of dipping my toes in the water of that country and trying to see which parts of the country I love the most, etc.
Yeah. And the reason I'm asking is because you said your priorities changed and you saw what's important to you, that's why you moved. But also you
Mhm,
discovered a few things that you really like the hiking, the outdoor activities. I
mhm,
think
mhm,
I think it does something to your mindset, your
mhm.
and so how do you feel now when you go back home, you are with your friends? Do you see like is there a difference in your conversations or in your mindsets?
Mhm. Mm, yeah, very interesting questions. I'm I need to hold myself back from bouncing off some of them because I'm also just very curious about you, but I know the audience already knows some things about you, just I don't yet. So, well, I feel absolutely ecstatic when it comes to my friends when I come back to Poland. So, because I'm just lucky enough and beyond grateful to be surrounded by very open-minded, very curious, very bright people. So no such thing as like this gossiping or just having assumptions about what Slovenia is when it comes to my, let's say, immediate circle. Because obviously very often I'm bothered by some mental shortcuts that people take when it comes to describing Slovenia. So let's say we have this, let's say, national flaw. I have it as well. That when someone tells you, yeah, I just came from Slovenia, instead of asking them right off the bat, oh, that's great, tell me more, you say, oh, yeah, I've been to Slovenia, I know how it is. And then we kind of try to show off with the very little knowledge that we have. So sometimes people say like, oh yeah, it's like Austrian Croatia, and I'm like, what? Please don't say it like that. And so yeah, I would just, maybe that's one of the things that I'm bothered. So like simplifying a country that you barely heard of, and now for me, obviously, it's that center of my life. So I see so many details, etc. But my friends, obviously, they don't do it. They are, as I said, what I love about them the most is how curious they are. So if anything, if I can have any complaints, is the fact that when I'm coming back, they ask me a lot of questions about Slovenia and my life, etc. And maybe the struggle might be that I don't want to be the only, let's say, shiny object in the room. So I don't want to be this, crazy traveler. And for instance, when I ask a question to someone who has a stable job, the same job for the past decade, has a like same apartment and etc. And sometimes my friends can say, you know what, compared to your life, mine seems quite dull. So yeah, I would just like to hear more about Slovenia. And I'm like, no, you are my friend. I want to hear about your dog being sick or your kids' problems in preschool or something. Because for me, it's I honestly, genuinely don't feel that my life in Alps is more interesting than life of my friend because that's interesting because of the bond we have. So maybe that's the only, let's say, issue. But also, most of my friends, or just majority, they live in Warsaw, or even if they moved to a more rural area, they come from bigger city. Okay, I grew up in a village and some of my friends did too, so I'm familiar with that all gossiping stuff, and I guess mentally I'm definitely a village person. But yeah, most of my friends are city people. That's also difference between us. So I guess if someone would be keen to gossip, that would be me. not these intellectuals from Warsaw. I guess I really can't take for granted social interactions that I have in general, because I would say I never had anyone pretended to pretending to be my friend and not being one. To me, that's almost a foreign concept. But also, allegedly, I mean, right now I'm in the process of diagnosing whether I'm on a spectrum, and allegedly I am. So maybe there are just some social cues that I absolutely miss. I swear. So maybe there were some people pretending to be my friends, but I just didn't get it or something. So yeah, I would say most of the issues were on my end. So I used to have, because of the nature of my job and because of just many factors, I have a variety of brilliant people to choose to have contact with. Therefore, it's mostly about attention span and let's say some kind of a strategy. Because since I conduct events and I have concerts, and obviously after every concert, you can meet 10 people easily, and with three of them, you can get along very well. So, yeah, so you need to choose what to prioritize. So, definitely, if anyone was to blame, for instance, for friendship slowly dying, it was me. But Slovenia also helped with that because I just realized I can just play it by the ear. Maybe for some people, it works out to do it all spontaneously. I just have too many precious people in my life to let things happen, because if I let things happen, most likely I will get a feedback, and I did from some people saying, you know what, I maybe I was the false friend in that scenario. So they were like, when you are in Poland and we are talking, it all sounds great, but then you go to Slovenia and you just disappear for 4 months, and I can't have it like that. And then I was like, I mean, that's a valid point. I need to think about it. So I did, and now it maybe sounds a bit robotic, but yeah, I normally have a list of people that I want to reach out to right when I'm coming back to Slovenia, and the other way around, because I don't want to, not anymore. I don't want to just pop out in people's lives like a comet saying, "Hi, I haven't been there for 4 months. Now I'm there." So I'm trying to stay in touch. I'm not great at it, but at least just try to do it every once in a while, and just let people from my close circle know that they are present on my mind. Because yes, I did hear also a few times when I was in Slovenia, and I guess that was attempt to give me a feedback. It's so beautiful there. I bet you don't miss us and Poland. And I was like, well, yes, as a matter of fact, I don't miss per se, because mm, I'm just not the missing type, but I like you or love you and I want to have you in my life. So it was a matter of figuring out how to convey that.
Yeah. Okay. And if I ask those closest friends of you, or whoever is the closest to you, who Aleksandra is, who you are, what would they say?
Mm, I guess the only main thread would be that most likely them claiming that I certainly have a lot of agency and that I'm very decisive. Yeah, Aleksandra is very decisive person, capable of making some pretty odd things happening upon realizing through quite some odd analysis that we don't get, because this analytical part, that's something that some of my friends are like, what have you heard of, intuition or stuff? I also have a bunch of friends who are, let's say, more like me, and they also have, let's say, stereotypically more analytical jobs, so they are in IT or something, and I get along with them in a very simple way because our minds just work alike. But with some of my friends being, I don't know, writers or journalists or teachers, and they're like, really, I just thought you were gonna come through this country and just stop here. And yeah, so I would guess they might mention a lot of analysis happening on my end, and decisiveness and agency, maybe also something with creativity.
Okay. That sounds super interesting. When you say decisive, because I have a friend, you just reminded me, I was talking to him yesterday. He's the most indecisive person I have ever met. It is so frustrating. It is so, like, just to the point, hey, what would you like to eat? It can take him 3 working days to make a decision.
Yeah.
So with you, when you say decisive, okay, you put your mind to something and you do it, right? Is that the the way you are functioning? Can you give me an example apart from the move to Slovenia?
Okay. But first, I would like to refer to what you said about your friend. Since I'm in the process of becoming a psychotherapist, I really hope he sees one, because I bet that's exhausting for him. And it may sound funny to us, but I guess it's a sign of some of pain or some really horrible tension. So yeah, I would just say that's a sign, not a problem itself, the indecisiveness. But
Okay.
yeah, so that sounds almost clinical. Um, there are some things that I need to reflect on for a longer while. So like make a list of pros and cons, etc. And then I just need time and piece of paper, and preferably also opportunity to hike with that. But when it comes to so many aspects, like even the example that you gave with not knowing what to eat, I have a luxury that my software that I have installed make it that beyond easy for me to make a decision. So for instance, if I enter the restaurant, I immediately know that I want to sit by that window with that view, etc., etc. So it normally doesn't make me, or if there is a path, I just know whether I want to go right or left. When it comes to, yeah, many details that I can see other people struggle with, and I just normally know. So I even have it, let's say, with friends or romantic partners, that some struggles that I can hear about from other people are like, really? Well, you didn't like the conversation, so why did you stay there and just waited for the meeting to be over? It's not that I try to be impolite or something, but normally when I don't enjoy something, I can very clearly say that I'm not enjoying it, and the other way around. So sometimes I'm absolutely delighted. So yeah, just past Saturday, I had one of the best Saturdays of my life. Really, I went with two, let's say, not that decisive friends. We went on the coast of Slovenia because, yeah, curiosity, coast here. I mean, you can ski or hike in Alps, and then within less than hour and a half, you can be on the beach. So we decided to do that. And they said, okay, we are not that much into making decisions. And you, Aleksandra, you normally just have very determined preferences. So you just do your thing and we're going to follow. And I loved it. And they did too, because they said, okay, we are not that keen on making decisions. So as long as we won't be hiking for too long, because they said that that's the only trap I can put them into. So it was very intuitive with knowing on which beach we're gonna stay, or at which points I'm gonna go swimming, or which restaurant to go to. I mean, I'm normally really taking into an account an economical factor, so that also makes things easier. But yeah, I guess this small steps of everyday life.
Yeah.
But there are also some things I'm very indecisive when it comes to, but for me that's also a sign that there is something off with my system, or there is something wrong with that activity. So normally if I don't know what to there is, I guess, a saying, lack of motivation is indeed lack of clarity. So for instance, if I'm not sure whether I want to start the translating work now, or whether I want to start with writing the book or playing an instrument, maybe I shouldn't do any of the above. Maybe I should go to the mountains. But yeah,
Okay.
that might be another trap. Yeah.
So no, thank you. So one way is what you did is you took charge of the situation and you just heard them out. Your friends, you said what you don't want to do, what is the trap, or we don't want to go hike for too long. But you then took charge of the situation and you planned the trip, which is really nice. So what would you advise me next time when I'm with my friend, I can't decide on anything? How can I help him? So because we don't live nearby, he lives 4 hours from me, for example, and he struggles with deciding on a lot of things. So next time we are together, I do that as well sometimes. I took the initiative and I planned a day, or hey, let's go to this restaurant. Do you eat this? Yes, no. And then I just decide for the restaurant. But what is it that I can practically do to help him? Or if you have any tips for me or for anyone that's
Okay.
indecisive?
Well, I hope to become a therapist, but I'm not one now. So that needs to be stated very clearly. So I'm just saying that as a person, not as a future
Yeah.
therapist. Well, I would just try to maybe initiate deeper conversation, but I guess you do that already since he's your friend. I don't know how close you are, but I would guess there might be certain issue in his life, issue that he doesn't take care of. And then the result of that, and let's say the bottleneck of his life, is making decisions. So for instance, maybe there's some major huge decision that he's postponing, or some action that he's dragging, and let's say it can unbalance his whole system. And then
That
you
is
can
exactly it.
see that. So, and you know what's the problem, right?
Yeah, he's delaying like huge decisions and huge tasks that he has to do. He always reschedules them, or tomorrow I'll do it tomorrow, I'll do it tomorrow, until he gets like overwhelmed and then he gets stressed out. I didn't think of connecting the dots. Is that something to do with it?
I would I would definitely connect these dots, but in this case, as much as I'm not a fan of this modern way of dialoguing, being, whenever someone has an issue, instead of just properly listening to them, we say, "Oh, you should see a specialist." But sometimes our friends or we need a combination of saying, okay, please tell me about your issues, but also if you see a reoccurring problem, I guess making sure that he can see a therapist who, for instance, can diagnose something. And it's not that we all need diagnosis, absolutely not, but that seems like an issue that can really lead to life collapsing, basically. Because if you are
Mm,
dragging every possible decision, eventually you will be getting more and more anxious because of all the tasks you haven't done. So yeah, tax office, and yeah, so many things.
yeah.
If you are not sure whether and I bet what might be the issue, and I actually had it when one of my friends. So he tends to be very neat, very precise, and a perfectionist. So I'm also curious whether your friend is a perfectionist in any way or not.
Yeah.
So that's also the issue, because, for instance, how life is easier for me than for perfectionists. I'm just a messy person, and if I do something okay, or let's say very good, for me that's very good. It's not, oh, I should have done it even better. No, I'm content. And I know for people being perfectionists, that's a huge burden. So okay, I am like that when it comes to work, but for instance, when it comes to cooking or even playing instrument, I'm like, that will do. It might be a flaw, that's not, but if your friend is a perfectionist dragging all these decisions, I would say there might be some very deeply rooted issues, obviously originating in childhood. So the question is whether he already sees a therapist or not yet.
I don't know, but there's things that happen.
Difficult. I know that's a difficult question to ask, but I honestly don't believe problems of that caliber, from what you are saying, can be solved by, few conversations every once in a while. It's a whole process of whole like training.
Okay. Yeah, I see. No, thanks for that. He's one of the nicest people I know, and it's just sometimes like I feel bad
Of
when I
course.
see him in this situations.
So, okay, one more follow-up question. Does he also have issue with setting boundaries?
Well, he can't say no to things,
Mm-hmm.
so
Mm-hmm.
he doesn't have time, but he says still yes to help people, for example.
When you said he's the nicest person, I was thinking, well, with being the nicest, that might be also the part of the issue. I mean, we all need to be nice, just maybe not the nicest. Yeah.
Yeah.
And yeah, what I wanted to say before, but then I lost the train of thoughts, was that if you will be able, if you will feel that that's the right time to ask him about therapist, definitely what you can offer is finding one recommended therapist. Because the friend that I brought up beforehand, he said, okay, but I don't know where to start. There are so many options to choose from. If I will try to find a therapist, it's going to take year and a half. So I said, okay, you have one number. So that's also the practical act of service, maybe, that you
Yeah.
can offer.
Okay. Yeah, I'll suggest that. I'll have that conversation with him. Thanks for
Mhm.
that, Alexandra. So tell me now about yourself. You get to Slovenia, and you said you are studying right now to become a psychologist.
From philosophy and then economical school, and then as a postgrad I did curious studies called suicidology. And while studying suicidology, I already knew I would really love to work with people as a therapist. So right now I'm doing that in the school in the modality of existential analysis. So the course is based in London. So we meet a couple of times a year in person in London. And also we meet every week or two online for very, very energy consuming sessions. I love them. I love them. I just almost every session turns me into slightly different human being.
Is it that's why your English is so good, or did you read a lot, or how come your English is that good?
I wouldn't say it's as good as it should be because I'm also a translator, so I translate literature from English to Polish, but that's still not the I would say I had a privilege of interacting with many people from abroad since I was, I don't know, 2 weeks old or something, because my parents, I wouldn't call it open house, but my mother's best friend was located in Canada. So we visited when I was a kid, and then they were coming to visit us, obviously, because for a Polish person, going to Canada is more like you do it once a decade if you have enough money. But if you have like, yeah, one of my favorite cousins, most beloved cousins, grew up in the United States. So whenever they come to, so friends from Canada, cousins from States, they were coming to Poland and staying with us. And I heard them speaking Polish with this very weird American accent. And I really enjoyed that. And also, obviously, between each other, they were speaking English. And also, we had a lot of guests. Yeah, our family kind of consists mostly of engineers and translators. So I guess that's why the international crowd to a degree. And also the biggest role my sister played, because I have two older sisters and one of them is just absolute genius when it comes to languages. Sometimes it's horrifying because she comes to Slovenia and I feel that after 2 weeks I swear she knows more than I do after 4 years. So, well, it can be a bit discouraging. And at some point, when my parents realized that I'm not as talented when it comes to languages, they decided to just hire my sister as my tutor. And that made the most of the difference because, yeah, he's just brilliant. I would recommend her as a teacher to anyone. And yeah, and sometimes also when I'm in Poland, I live with her. And sometimes I can tell her, listen, I feel that Slovenština, so yeah, Slovene language is slowly pushing out Angleština. So can we by chance speak English at home? So sometimes we do that as well. So yeah.
Yeah, some people are just really good with languages and just learn.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. It's I don't know. It's like I don't know the idea behind it or the biology or DNA or whatever you call it.
Mhm.
Some people are good at math, some people are good in languages. And for me, I was good with languages growing up, so
Mhm.
helped me. So
Mhm. Yeah.
I think also your sister speaks Polish, English. Does she speak other languages as well?
French, Italian, Japanese.
Yeah, see, because I
So,
think when you
so there is obviously something wrong there.
because at some point when you learn the languages, you draw parallels. You oh, this is similar to that. This grammatic is similar to this, and
Yes.
then it helps.
Exactly. So,
Yeah.
what's beautiful about how her mind works is that exactly drawing parallels and I guess seeing patterns in. So, she's also way more interested in Polish language than I am. So, sometimes she's like, oh, look, that sentence seems a bit similar to the Slovenian sentence that you said yesterday. And I was like, in which universe is that interesting? But it's also very practical because, for instance, when we went to Albania together, and the language that people in Albania speak, for me, it just sounds like nothing. And how my brain works when it comes to languages, if I don't understand, I just don't. I don't draw any parallels. I just freeze and, well, leave the store or something. So that's what happened. So we didn't have any data there, any internet. And she decided that she will go to a store and she will try to pay with cash that wasn't, I guess it was euro or something else, but anyway, they had to speak about currencies, they had to speak about certain products, and she was speaking to Albanian people. And then I asked her what happened, and she was like all enthusiastic, like, you know what, some of the words were just so similar to Italian, and two of them also reminded me of, and there's this whole analysis, and it's like, yeah, watching Einstein playing with physics. So yeah, that's drawing parallels for sure. It shows that you are one of
Yeah.
them.
It helps, like even if you understand one word in a whole sentence, like you then connect the dots somehow, you know, and then a little bit of body language, hand movement, gesture, and pointing at something, and you just the brain just connects the dots automatically, I guess.
Know what? Yeah, when you said about just getting even one word, so I guess that might be about this mental just a decision whether you are gonna play that game or not. Because if I don't understand first three words, my brain is just switching off. So let's say I'm letting go too quickly. While let's say, well, if I'm in the mountains or if I'm doing sports, normally I just do it. If I fail, I will just try to go through anyway. But yeah, when it comes to languages, I need to develop some of that. And I am developing it when it comes to Slovene because, yeah, it's going slower than expected. But, well, yeah,
It
we
will
have
come
different talents.
eventually. It
Yeah,
will
yeah,
come.
yeah, yeah.
Do you think it's your last move? Do you see Slovenia as like your forever home, or do you have big plans?
No, my plan is to explore the hell out of Slovenia because there is so much to explore. So let's say when it comes to expertise, I would rather go deeper than wider. That I really hope in. So let's say after a year, I was able of naming every region in Slovenia. It's also a very small country, so it's after a year and a half, I knew all the license plates. Now, if a person gives me name of the town, I'm like, okay, yeah, I know, and the dialect that you speak, da da da. So I'm just really mesmerized by this country, and Poland is also fascinating and huge. And to some degree, it's almost overwhelming because if you have country as big as Poland, I won't be an expert because I would need to live for 300 years. But with Slovenia, I at least have a chance to be very competent when it comes to Slovenia at the age of, let's say, 65.
Okay.
So at this point, yeah, I really don't think I'm going to move elsewhere. Maybe just for a short time, but I'm just trying not to exclude options of, I don't know, if my partner will be a diplomat or whatever, and we will absolutely need to go somewhere else than Slovenia, then okay. Yeah,
Okay.
I almost had a workshop to conduct in Hawaii. I had this conversation yesterday for some kind of a company, and they decided that maybe it makes sense to drag me all over the globe to conduct a workshop for them, which would be obviously great. But still, my first reaction was like, I would have to move Slovenia in my favorite month when like this particular flower is blooming. I knew I want to hike over there because it's such a special hike on Velika Planina. So yeah, I guess I wouldn't say boring. I'm just very set on a certain type of love that I have. Yeah.
That's beautiful. So you mentioned that you're doing a lot of things. Your psychotherapy course, your translation business, and you're doing some music as well.
Mhm.
Can you elaborate on that?
So when it comes to my band, that's just, I guess, the most precious thing for me. It's equally precious to Slovenia. So yeah, we have, let's say, between 20 and 30 concerts a year. Mm, and yeah, we are doing it, let's say, semi-professionally, or yeah, normally we're getting paid for that. We play in like certain institutions, etc. We also won a couple of festivals and contests, so that's great as well.
Yeah.
My bandmates are my friends as well, like very, very close friends. So yeah, I'm just really thrilled to have them in Slovenia in upcoming days. And what's also curious is that we are all on very different stages of life because the age difference between the youngest bandmates, my childhood friend or acquaintance Pavel, because he's, I guess, 27 or something, and our oldest member is is around 44 years, because our piano player, our beloved genius piano player, and yeah, very, very dear person, is 71. So we have this
Wow.
cross generational friendship going on, and this is really cool. Yeah.
What do you play? Which instruments do you play, or do you sing?
I sing and I play bass,
Ah, okay.
but
Okay.
I'm not that great of a bass player. I mean, I'm trying to become better and better, but let's say I'm really good at singing, and I was just blessed with pleasant voice, and therefore my bandmates kind of let me play the bass, even though it's not flawless, but they are very patient. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm,
That's amazing. I didn't know that. So I'm talking to a famous person then. So
I wouldn't go that far, but I mean, yeah, in some small circles we might be famous. So yeah, our most famous YouTube video has like 200,000 views, so it's not that large of a number considering how big Poland is, but definitely, let's say we have quite big of a group of people who are very loyal to our music and very enthusiastically and actively supporting us.
That's amazing. I want to know more about that. Do you have any advice for someone who wants to start singing, or joining a band?
My journey was very unobvious and very long, so I'm not, and I just ended up with the very right people. Maybe one attempt to give an advice would be try different instruments, but maybe give it more than just one shot, because it's equally possible that you have unrealistic expectations of, "Oh, I'm gonna become a musician within 5 minutes." But also, I know that some people just force themselves to try things that they are not equipped or drawn to do. And maybe sometimes it's better to try a bit with accordion and then piano and then bass and then guitar. And maybe the process will unfold what's ahead of you. Because I know that, for instance, many kids, that's the experience of many of my friends and acquaintances, that, for instance, they went to musical school, but they wanted to play drums, and their parents decided for practical reasons that they should play violin. And I haven't spoke to single one person who would say, "And now I'm so happy they decided with the violin." Oh, they are like, "And I really wish I would play drums. I hate violin." So there is, I guess, really something special about this inner voice telling us, "I want that instrument." Yeah. For
Sure.
instance, if you really love the sound of certain instrument, and yeah, if you listen to a song and say, "I really like piano here," or "I really love the bass line," that indicates it might be a good idea to at least touch it and see how you'll feel. Yeah. And
Yeah.
definitely try to, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I feel like a lot of parents, maybe correct me if I'm wrong, you're the professional here, but maybe they want their kids to learn the violin because they missed out on this chance to do it themselves, or they wanted to do it. Now the kids have to do it. Do you think it's
Yeah, yeah,
something
yeah.
to do with that?
Definitely, definitely, and also very often it's practicality. So even some of my friends being drummers, when we are getting settled, and for a violin player, for it takes, I don't know, 3 minutes, and for a drummer it takes around 45. So then every time we do it, they're like, "Oh, I should have played clarinet or something." So maybe practical reasons as well. Obviously, it's not shocking that it happens, but still, if we want to make the right decision, maybe it's better to explore a bit and also listen to intuition, inner voice, preferences, however we're gonna call it. Yeah.
Do you still get
Before I
nervous? You have 20 per year. Do you have like a
no.
ritual before you start, or?
I mean, if I do get nervous, if there is something slightly off with the sound system. So, for instance, if I don't hear myself as well as I would like to, then I'm nervous. So let's say I'm nervous for technical reasons, but definitely before contests, because I'm just very competitive and I just want to win. That's really not the point of contest. When you are a musician, you should enjoy it. But I'm like, yeah, I want the prize, so I'm turning into 8-year-old child. So definitely I would say seek connection and support, and try to, I don't know, either talk to your bandmates, or, so for me, two things that help: a, being aware of what's happening to me, and that, for instance, I need some either physical movement, so I sometimes go around or jump or doing squats or something, and I can't be bothered whether someone is shocked by that I'm doing that in elegant dress and so on, because I guess physical movement just always helps with everything. But also the fact that I'm friends, like really friends with my bandmates, and I can tell them, "Listen, it's happening now. I just really want to win." And they either try to, yeah, play a game with me beforehand, like cards or whatever, just a word game, anything, and just to keep my mind off that price that I want to have. So yeah, so it's either seeking companion and support or trying to, yes, self-regulate your emotions through physical movement or some other tricks that work for you.
Yeah, I used to play football. I used to do the same push-ups, press-ups, just run, just to release some energy that just helped me as well. So I
Okay.
understand. Yeah. And in front of how many people did you usually perform? Or what's the biggest audience you had so far?
The biggest, I guess, was around maybe 300-400. But also we were on like national TV bunch of times,
Nice.
so it was then a lot.
Yeah.
I guess we might expect maybe up to 1,000 in a week, because in Slovenia, even though Slovenia is a very small country, they have this ski jumping thing happening in Planica. I guess is worldwide known. So yeah, everyone heard of Planica, even if they haven't heard of Slovenia. And yeah, we're gonna play on like stage on the main square of the town that is just very close to
Wow.
this contest. So
Very
yeah,
nice.
it's yeah.
Very nice. Good luck with that.
Thank you. Yeah, but normally you also asked like the average number. So I would say, since our music is a mixture of jazz, blues, maybe very mild progressive rock with a lot of poetic touch to it. If it's small and intimate venue, it also helps. So I would say the perfect number is from 30 people to 80. Yeah, we are not ACDC.
Yeah, no, still, like you never know where you're going to end up. I know it's not the same, but for example, I was before I got married, 2018, I was walking with my wife, some shopping, and then I found a singer on, the street, on the streets.
Mhm. Mhm.
And we loved his voice, so we approached him, and
Mhm.
we asked him if he can perform in our wedding. So he then came. I had a
Oh.
big wedding. We had 350 people in our wedding. We have a
Uh-huh.
quite
Oh.
big family. Our
Uh-huh.
culture is quite big, not as big
Yeah.
as Asians, where they have 1,000, but
Uh-huh.
like 300, 350,
Okay.
and
This is
yeah,
wonderful story. You also have a lot of agency, you and your wife, and decisiveness. Wow. Okay. So
yeah,
may I ask where you come from and your wife, from which cultures?
yeah. So we are Egyptians.
Mhm.
With 1 year old, I moved to Germany, grew up there,
Mhm.
and
Mhm.
my wife, with 2 year old, she moved to London.
Okay. Okay. One of my very close friends is Egyptian, and one of my peers with whom I study, she's an Egyptian living in London as well. Yeah.
Oh wow, small world.
Now, yes. Okay. Yeah. Well, great. I just think your culture seems, I mean, it's so rich that we have few things to learn from you, really, because we are still crawling, like even historically speaking.
Yeah, yeah, but because I grew up in Germany, I more like German, the
Mhm.
mentality and the culture than Egyptian, because
Mhm.
with one, I lived there until I was 17, 18.
Mhm.
I lived 17 years in London, or in Brighton, in the UK. So I'm at this point now. What am I? German, English, Egyptian?
Yeah. Uh-huh.
So
Yeah.
yeah,
Are you trilingual, or do you speak
yeah.
Arabic fluently, or okay? Uh-huh.
I speak it fluently, but I can't read or write.
Okay. Okay. That's very interesting combination. Okay. Uh-huh.
But we are more Europeans than anything. Because when I go to Egypt, they think I'm a tourist as well, and you know how they try to rip you off because you're a tourist.
Mhm. Mhm.
So they know immediately. So I sometimes have to haggle like a tourist in my own home country. So because they can
Okay.
tell I grew up in Europe, you know.
Mm.
Alexandra, I have not prepared something I call rapid fire.
Okay.
Yeah, so I prepared 5 questions, and you can only answer them in one sentence. Are you ready?
Okay.
What was the most unexpected challenge when you started over in Slovenia?
Realizing that I have so many great things in both of the countries that I will need to sacrifice something for sure.
What was the biggest thing you sacrificed then?
Mm, well, very important relationship that
Okay.
was unsustainable. Quite
Yeah.
typical of an answer, maybe when it comes to that, but yeah. Yeah.
And what's the one thing living in Slovenia made you discover something new about yourself? Because you have started in a new country, you have more time to yourself, you're more by yourself. What's the one thing that you have noticed about yourself that you weren't aware before?
That I'm just a mammal and I need physical movement as desperately as I need water.
Okay, so the next question is, if you could give one piece of advice for someone moving to a new country alone, it doesn't have to be Slovenia. You can make it about Slovenia. What would it be?
Try to find a company, any company before you get there. Use internet for that.
Like a community, you mean? Like to connect with people, or
It can be a community, can be a person. For instance, before visiting Slovenia for the first time, I used this Facebook group called Host a Sister. So it's like couch surfing, but solely for women. Because of safety reasons, and I also wasn't at this point. I'm also quite great with couch surfing because I actually don't mind whether I'm gonna be hosted or host a guy or a girl. Great anyway, if we have some things in common. But definitely, I guess feeling of loneliness is a common and very overwhelming thing to experience. So it's better to have at least one contact, one local who can, I don't know, show you around. You can return the favor, but I don't know, buying a coffee or cooking for them or whatever. Just do some kind of an exchange so you could feel more rooted and less alone. Yeah.
okay? For me, it was I was lucky when I moved to Switzerland. I have a wife and two kids. They keep me
Mm-hmm.
busy. But I
Mm-hmm.
lived in Republic of Ireland
Mm-hmm.
by, by myself, 2012 to 2014. So that's why, like,
Mm-hmm.
oh, it's really quiet in here. I think I
Mm-hmm.
need to connect with people.
Yeah,
So
yeah, yeah.
work helped me in that sense.
Mm.
So I made some. The good thing is about that, a lot of team members I had also moved for the job. So like we had this group, so that helped as well.
Mhm.
So
Mhm.
I agree with you. So definitely connect with people.
Mhm. Yeah, and
Yeah.
sometimes it's better to do it beforehand. So at least when I'm already under some kind of a pressure, if I feel lonely, sad, lost, etc., that's I'm not gonna be the most creative, not at my prime at all. So for me, it's better to take care of prevention steps. So even if I feel, oh yeah, I just want to be alone and by myself for a month, and I'm like, yeah, but maybe after first week I won't feel that way, and then it's going to be better to have some kind of a base to go back to. So I guess it's better to try to reach out to someone before going there. And really, with all the groups that there are online, yeah, communities as well, if you're religious, church, whatever, just whatever, find real people.
Yeah. Absolutely. And final question is, what's something people which could be your friends also, or someone that gets to know you for the first time, gets wrong about you but is not true?
that I thrive in chaos. I don't.
Okay.
It's a byproduct of my attempts to trying to choose or like switching from one lifestyle to another, and I actually really don't benefit from the chaotic part of my life. Yeah. Because I guess that's a
Okay.
stereotype of like crazy creative musician, but yeah, no, I don't like it.
Maybe you're just good at filtering it out or not showing because you got a strong personality. Would you say you don't show it, or why would people get that impression?
Maybe because it's kind of a trope when it comes to certain movies or just it's part of our culture. So let's say I fit certain box. We do it. I mean, we need that kind of a like categorization or something. So I guess a lot of people assume that I'm this character from Eat, Pray, Love because they feel that they've seen something similar. So yeah, you are Julia Roberts from Eat, Play, Love. And I'm like, no, yeah. But yeah, it might be the case that since I work with people and let's say I need to have certain stage presence and I like it, therefore I do, even when I try to say that something is difficult to me and I do, I complain a lot to my friends. I feel that's like mental hygiene, but very often I say, I remember actually having this conversation with my Egyptian friend when I told him some of like the most dramatic events of my life. And I just said it in a manner of like we are talking now. And then he said, are you a robot or are you so hurt that you can't speak about it? And I said, no, I thought it's more pragmatic to tell you the facts and maybe cry later on after you already familiarize yourself with it. So,
Or maybe you're AI, so who knows?
yeah. I've been accused of that actually a few times, but I'm not. Yeah.
So for the last part of the podcast, I wanted to talk to you about Slovenia in more detail. Like, how is life there? Is it safe country? Is it? How do you feel like people have treated you coming from Poland? Did you find it easy to integrate? Take us about your first few steps there when you began.
Slovenia is absurdly safe of a country. That was one of the aspects that I was taking into an account. Yep. When it comes to, so yeah, I heard or I've seen on some expats groups that there are people who experienced racism, etc. And I've heard, but okay, whatever I see on expat groups just on Facebook, maybe it doesn't count. I will just speak from my experience. It was very easy. It was very easy, but I would also say I didn't feel it was that easy for me to mingle in Italy, which is like known for being such an open country. And I also, let's say I speak some Italian because I was supposed to learn that at school, but still I just felt like personality type or again the priorities are so different from mine. So for instance, people are dressed really well and I don't care about this stuff that much, but here I just feel like we are hmm, since Slovenians are kind of like scouts. So they love nature, they love helping people, they love talking about practical stuff. So definitely, if you try to talk to them about politics and philosophy right off the bat, it might not go through. But since I needed some practical help and I needed to ask people for some directions, recommendations, best waterfalls, etc, and they were beyond helpful because from my experience Slovenians are also experts when it comes to their country, especially their region. So they are like textbook example of local patriots. Even when they are complaining about their village, they are still give you like top 10 things you can do here. So I guess I knew how to start conversations with them and I still do. So I would say by far Slovenians are the, because I also work with a lot of international groups. And I know when it comes to sense of humor, I absolutely love Scottish people. and English people and Irish people. But when it comes to sense of humor, I don't get along that well with Slovenians, but that's the only aspect we don't nail together. Other than that, we are on a very similar side. Yeah, people were quite open, even though they are, let's say, marked as introverts. And I get that stereotype. So they're not like, yeah, oh, zdravo, kako si. So there are some people, if they are passing from Poland on their way to Italy, they expect Italians. Slovenians are not Italians. They are as Slav as we are, with all the interesting Yugoslavian history, etc. So they sometimes say that they are Balkan. So they are certainly Balkan and Yugoslavian, but they are not Italian. That's a common misconception. They are, especially in the region where I live, they are more, let's say, reserved, but at the same time polite. So they always tell zdravo to you on the street, even if they don't know you. And if you will show any interest in something very concrete, so for instance, and that's the thing I needed to learn, that if I want to have a conversation, I need to specifically ask, whoa, that's a wonderful garden you have. What's that flower? And then the conversation is gonna, pun intended, bloom, really. But so talk to them about the weather, favorite hikes, yeah, just concrete stuff that you can pinpoint, because they love doing that, and they are also extremely helpful. I guess one last thing that I can add, what really made my experience, I guess, easier, was the fact that I was trying to put some of the Slovene words like here and there, because they really speak great English here. Really. So my English doesn't impress anyone here. In Poland, it does. In Slovenia, it doesn't. So they very often speak multiple languages, but when you form a sentence and you stuff it with some random Slovene words, they find it adorable. And also, I guess that's a show of respect towards the culture. Since Slovenia has only 2 million inhabitants, people normally are like, why the hell are you learning our language? Tell us everything. Because, yeah, that's a great starting point for a conversation, because yeah, they do have a lot of tourists. That's a beautiful country, but tourists normally just speak English. If you speak Slovenshina, you are sending a signal, I'm here for good. I want to hear about your poets. I want to hear about your traditions. I'm not just passing through on my way to Croatia.
Yeah. Okay. Well, thanks for that. That's super interesting. Now, if I want to move tomorrow to Slovenia,
Mhm.
if I get a headhunter calling me today, say, "Hey, I've got this opportunity for you. Come and work here." What's a good salary to live a good life in Slovenia that I should accept? And do you know about the tax? Is there very high taxes there, and the rent? Do you know how the whole system works?
Uh, I do know, but since I'm not part of this system, and I really
Hmm.
don't like not being precise about financial matters, so they do
Hmm.
have high taxes. They are still more towards left. Um, so I will say about netto pay that I would need, considering that I used to rent a room in Ljubljana 2 years ago. I rented it for around 300 euros, and considering prices of food, etc., etc., I guess what I needed to not only survive, but also, okay, so for the food, let's say I was spending another 300, but I'm also quite frugal. Keep in mind that wine and coffee you can get here for around euro and a half. Maybe not in Ljubljana, but in our village, like coffee, wine, euro and a half. So you can socialize and spend 1.5 euros. So this is great. When it comes to, yeah, food, I would say I spend between 200 and 300 euros a month, sometimes less, but that's because I sometimes challenge myself with just saying, okay, let's see how little you can spend on food. And I also cook at home. Slovenians do it as well. It's very common. Yeah, I have a bit unusual of a lifestyle, meaning that I try not to buy new things at all. So if I can rent something, if I can buy something secondhand, So yeah, I don't know how much people spend for clothing or something, but that's why I won't tell you about the salary. I also never worked for a
Mhm.
corporation, etc., etc. So I'm so outside of the system that it would be a horrible simplifying answer you don't want to hear. But yeah, me
Yeah.
myself, let's say I need to secure around, let's say, 8 to 900, maybe 800 a month. Yeah.
Okay. First of all, thank you for being honest and not just throwing out numbers that might not be
Mhm.
true. So you sound like you are free. You do kind of whatever you want or whenever you want. And, yeah. So I think because it's once you're in the system, it's so difficult to get out.
I mean, I'm still part of the system because I need, electricity and I need a lot of other people, but I definitely don't need clothing from Zara or coffee from McDonald's. Sorry, I just hate all that. Yeah. Yeah. And I was, I guess, raised that way. So yeah, it's
Yeah.
it's not my
No, that's
achievement,
really
but
good.
yeah.
Very simple. I like that. Very simple life. And you said it's a safe country. People are very friendly. And what would you say about the healthcare there? Like, touch wood. You hopefully haven't used it yet, but what have you
Yeah,
heard there
I've
from?
used it.
Yeah. Okay.
Well, not great. Still better than in Poland. So we have to take into an account that I come from a country that is at this point very modern, thriving economically, but our healthcare is literally collapsing. It's unbelievable. It's also unbelievable
Oh.
how many huge corporations you can have in Poland. Okay, I won't start ranting about how we should tax them, and we don't, but we really could. So yeah, I guess. So Slovenians definitely complain about their healthcare. In Poland, sometimes for an appointment, you need to wait for like I don't know, to an oncologist, you need to wait for like year and a half or something. So I guess in Slovenia it's not that bad, but you still need to wait from couple of weeks to couple of months. Well, when I went to hospital in Slovenia, I guess it happened 3 times. Definitely people were very friendly and very helpful, and line wasn't that huge. The problem was the equipment. So yeah, I was shocked that something, I'm not sure which machinery was not there, but there was something broken, there was something missing. So I thought, okay, it's very friendly and clean. And first glance, it looks promising. But then you were like, yeah, what's we are just waiting to hear that we can't have ultrasound here because the machine is broken. So yeah, that
Uh,
was my experience. And definitely Slovenians don't enjoy their healthcare, but when I spoke to 3 different American expats, they said Slovene healthcare is great. So I guess all depends on the point of view. But definitely what's also great is that when I needed some urgent help, this is an anecdote I still can't believe. I called the nearest hospital, which is like 15 minutes from me, asking whether anyone there speaks English. And the answer was because, yeah, I asked in Slovene, yeah, so I phrased the question in Slovenština because I knew that my guests, and she was sick, will need to explain herself using English. And then the answer on the other side was, yeah, of course we speak English. We're in Slovenia. And I was like, yeah, sure, that's actually my experience. But what was even funnier was that we were then driving there, and in literally 10 minutes the same woman from the hospital, just general number, called me saying, hey, are you coming or not? And then I was like, yeah, yeah, we're coming. And she said, yeah, because I really want you to come. The symptoms that you described, we need to take a look at that. And I was like, whoa, is she my aunt? Someone from a public hospital just called me back. So yeah, hospital in Radolica, you're great.
I had a friend. He had unfortunately he had a tumor on his ear, behind his ear,
Mhm,
and
mhm.
in Germany they told him to wait 6 months or something like that. And so he went to Slovenia to a private hospital. He paid from his own pocket, but
Uh-huh.
he did it
Uh-huh.
in a couple of days and he done it
Whoa.
and left. So
Okay.
he's not rich. he's not rich, but when it comes to that, he didn't want to wait. He put a lot of his savings into that, and he told me it's like a luxury hotel. So
Okay, so there are some things that hopefully I won't need to learn, but okay, this is fascinating. Thank you for that curiosity. Okay.
Yeah, so even with the public hospitals there, you say there's a waiting queue, but still better than Poland. So you wait a couple of months, but not 1.5 years like in Poland, for
Yeah.
example. Okay. Also depends on which country you're comparing it with.
Yeah, for sure, and also depends on the
Yeah,
case and whether you know certain people. It still works like that a bit, and both in Poland and Slovenia. So yeah, if your aunt
that's
is a
unfortunately.
doctor, yeah,
Yes,
yeah,
unfortunately, how life works, who you know and who can, it's also when you're looking for an apartment, if you are lucky, you know someone who knows someone, and they will put you in favor in front of other people, in a lot of countries like that. In Switzerland, for example, we struggled to find an apartment, so we had to go through some connections, some people we know. My brother lived here before us, so we used him also. Yeah, that's unfortunately how life works. Yeah. No one will
yeah. We
ever make
just need
it
a
by
community.
himself.
Yeah, I mean, yeah,
Yeah,
life isn't exactly an American dream. You need people surrounding you. You need a network. Yeah, as unfair as
yeah,
it may sound. Yeah.
yeah. Cool. Alexandra, really appreciate your time today and opening up about your journey and personal, professional, and also your move to Slovenia. And I hope we stay in touch. And maybe when you are even more famous, we can then laugh about this interview and then we can do a part two.
Sounds great. Let's hope we will get to cross that bridge. I really enjoyed it too. Thank you so much for such insightful questions.
Thank you.